Hello, everybody, and welcome to Speak Out, the OutWrite podcast. I am your host, JQ. You can use any pronouns for me.
I'm Emma. I use they, she, he pronouns.
I'm Ava. I use they, she pronouns.
Okay, so we are here today to talk about OutWrite's print, which is super slight, super incredible, beautiful.
I need one too.
Love it. On stands now. We'll be releasing it digitally over the summer, so keep an eye out for that.
Yay.
Our theme is freaks. We're here to talk about the theoretical underpinnings for why we chose this theme, and then go into a little more detail on the articles that my lovely co-hosts / guests actually contributed to it.
Fuck yeah.
And I also helped.
I hung this one up on my wall. This picture, I hung it up on my wall because I think they're slaying.
That is
The day
very
that I
slick.
picked up the print, it was the day that it was raining really hard.
Oh no.
So I just got soaked. I had to peel the pages apart.
Oh!
That was
Damn.
really tragic and sad.
Yeah, that is really tragic and sad, actually. I can talk about the theoretical underpinnings because I think
yeah.
I think I remember that meeting.
It's definitely not in that meeting.
No, it was I think it was editorial team. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I think it has a lot to do. Do I remember what I was gonna say? We'll find out.
Well, it has to do with the way queer people are
perceived.
ostracized
Yeah,
from
okay, I was
society.
gonna say that, but I wasn't sure if
And
it was
the
right.
fact that ostracism gives us a lot in common with other ostracized subcultures.
That's right, baby.
And even personal aspects, like that feeling of being alienated from society is something that I think we'll explore also in our internewsprint. But hopefully coming out next quarter.
Yeah. Yeah. And also generally making the argument that the push toward any push towards normalization or assimilation, and that's the word that I'm looking for, is just disconnecting us from people, trying to get closer to people who are if they had, I'm speaking broadly, if they had the chance, would do the same thing that we do to people. I'm using too many blanket terms, so now it sounds like is weird, What
you're talking about is and we'll get into this more with what talking about kink at Pride, trying to be exclusionary for people expressing kink at Pride is literally just replicating the same arguments that homophobic and transphobic people make to exclude queer people from participation in society.
Yes, perfect. Good way to say it. Yeah.
Same shit goes for wait, what was your article? The cringe one at the not calling it cringe, it's about cringe culture.
Wow, I can't believe you just did that. What do you mean?
Was your article the one about cringe culture?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah. I feel like that's that ties it together.
Yeah. Yeah, it was like the theoretical underpinning in the same way that Brenna's was about queer futurity was in the last print. Yeah.
Well, do you want to describe and talk
sure.
about it?
Do I remember what I wrote? Maybe.
Who's to say?
Who's to say? Yeah, I mean, basically it just talks about, okay, I do remember. The psychology of cringe culture. To me, it feels like it's a very gut reaction. Not everybody can put a name to why we see things as, cringe or, embarrassing. And so I kind of try to investigate that by saying, oh, well, a lot of it stems back towards ableism, first of all. And
there's a specific, it's the psychological balance.
Balance? Cognitive balance is, Hyder's balance theory. Yeah. I talked to one of my friends who graduated last year. Yeah. Last year, 2 years ago? I don't know. And hi Dix, if you're listening to this, I love you. And they gave me a couple different psychological theories that could explain it. One of them was Hyder's balance theory, which is I'll read from the article, explains that we are most comfortable liking people who like what we like and disliking people who like what D like. So
what do you like?
What do I like?
What we dislike.
What? Wait, sorry, I'm not understanding literally anything. What did you say?
We're most comfortable disliking people who dislike what we dislike.
There's nothing going on up here.
Okay.
I will understand it in about 4 minutes.
We like people
Check
who are
back with me later.
similar to us.
Yeah, there you go.
Really an evil feature of the brain.
Literally, yeah. Not great for, like, tolerance. Yeah, and so, obviously that makes it the most, comfortable position to be in is to be around people who are similar to you, which is, hey, not great for, a society with lots of different people in it who are very different. The other one was, Festinger's, social comparison theory, which is, the idea that downward social comparison, so when people compare themselves to someone who is, quote, worse off to make them feel better about their own status, upward comparisons make you feel worse comparing yourself to someone who you believe is better than you. That also plays, I believe, a part in why people make and consume these types of videos and content. I think that's, like, most of it. That's, like, the basic idea. Read it. Read it.
Read it. If you want to know what we're talking about, pick up the print.
Real.
On newsstands around campus.
Yeah.
Mostly at Ackerman and at the LGBTQ CRC.
True. And some of the,
And there's one, like, somewhere else that I saw. I don't remember where.
I saw one at McGowan Theater.
Hell yeah, bro.
Yeah.
It was, like, only one, though, so I don't know if it was there on purpose or not. Anyways.
We pass them around.
Yeah, exactly.
Go to any event with queer in the name,
No.
and we'll probably be there
Literally.
trying to peddle them.
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't know why I put that down. I kind of want it.
For the vibes.
For the vibes.
Yeah, I feel like one of the things that I really like about this print is the really expansive approach that it takes to community, because in some ways, I feel like I have so much in common in terms of, like, ostracization and identity with, like, straight cis furries, you know? It's that, like, alienation from normative gender and presentation. I was like, I feel like furries understand me more than, like, some cis men, you know?
Yeah.
Even if those men are queer.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, yeah, no, that's, yeah, fair.
I feel like furries understand most people because they've been so misunderstood. So yeah, I don't know. I feel like the furry community is just, like, good vibes, mostly.
Yeah.
I
Good
mean,
vibes.
there's toxic people in every community, but...
Yeah.
I think it also...
Oh, no.
I was
Say
gonna
your
comment,
thing, because
but-
I think my thing was going to be less related.
Okay, cool. Mine is related to yours, and I think that it also, like, is in the same vein of using, like, queer as, rather than LGBTQ, and not, like, limiting the community, and, like, I guess for lack of a better word, like, gatekeeping it. And sort of just broadening the idea of the word.
Yeah.
Because, like, queer didn't always just mean LGBTQ. It also just means, like, weird, Like, in some senses. Like, it was not used
Strange,
positively in that way.
derogatory.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I think I read some article about how, like, straight cis people can be queer because they do something that's, like, not normal. Normal. Ooh. That what that means. Societally acceptable.
Yeah, like a very masculine cis woman or a very feminine cis man is also like, even if they wouldn't identify that way, they definitely are affected by the social stigma that society still applies to being queer.
Yep.
Even if they wouldn't be like, yeah, I'm queer, they'd be like, I'm cis and straight, so surely not.
Mm-hmm.
But it's definitely a communal struggle against the same sort of close-minded discrimination.
Yeah, true. What were you going to say?
Oh, yeah. The other thing I was going to say is I think furry community norms are really awesome. I mean, obviously, there's still, like, shit going on, but I feel like it's also tends to be somewhat of a supportive culture, especially in terms of, like, combining sort of a gift economy and a monetary economy in a way that could be really toxic, but honestly seems to work out for them.
Wait, what is that? What does that mean? Gift economy, monetary economy?
Oh, like a gift economy is a lot, like, if you imagine, like, a traditional fandom space, I might be too into transformative, like, fanfiction fandom for this, because this hits with me, but I don't know if it will hit with you.
It's like Burning Man, but done better.
Shit, I mean,
that's the most pop culture.
Wrong in every particular, but kind of the vibe, sort of.
Well, it's the thing that people will know.
Sure. I don't know that much about Burning Man.
Okay.
I know a lot about Star Trek zines.
Okay.
You know, we all have our areas.
What about Star Trek zines as like a gift economy?
Well, it's like traditionally zines, when they're printed, they would only be sold for the cost of printing. Like the person actually creating and compiling the zine, all of the work that goes into that would be done essentially for free. And so, like, distribution of zines, and now we can see that in, like, gift exchanges, which are a really big part of fanfiction community building. Like, Yuletide has been going for, since 2006, I think. I'm about to explain that.
Okay, cool.
And that's a wintertime, enormous, like, exchange where different fanfiction writers are paired up, and they each write a short piece for the other one.
Oh, cute.
And so you get, like, you write a gift for someone and you receive a little gift. And it's, like, a big community building thing, but there's, importantly, no exchange of money, just, like, exchange of time and effort. And so that's one model for an economy. But obviously, like, a lot of people make money being commissioned to do, like, create art for furries. And so that's, like, they sort of combine two different economic models, because obviously a lot of furries are also involved in sort of like gift economy exchanges. I feel like it's very
cool.
easy for those to mesh in a toxic way, but it seems to be working out.
Well, good for them.
I mean, caveat that Twitter is evil, but you know.
Oh, is that like primarily where like the furry community like operates?
Yeah.
Gotcha.
I mean, there are like focused forum groups too. But...
Yeah. True. I do see how I see what you mean about how they could combining those two forms of economy could mesh in a way that is not fun for anybody involved.
And obviously, well, I think we're getting off topic. I can talk about fandom.
I mean,
there's all day.
There's a furry there's a furry piece in the print.
But I can talk about like fanfiction fandom all day.
Yeah. But I mean, that's also like part of it. Like a lot of like in my article, like a lot of what is a big chunk of cringe content is people from fandoms who other people think you're not supposed to be a part of, either past a certain age or just in general, if you're like outside of a certain demographic or something. And a lot of that also ends up going back to ableism and like making fun of neurotypical people for not expressing emotion in like acceptable ways. But you know, like fandom definitely plays a big part in that.
And I think being like this like insulated subculture that, because of the sort of explosion of the accessibility of internet fandom, has kind of instituted a lot of like context collapse, which I have explained before, but I can't explain again. Twitter is a great example. If you make like a little tweet about your silly fanfiction for your close circle of friends, and then some random homophobe picks it up and blasts it to his like maybe much larger circle of also homophobic friends, who proceed to like dogpile and call you cringe because they're not from the subculture that was like the original context, like that it was made for. That's an example of context collapse, and it's something that social media, especially algorithm-driven social media, is extraordinarily good at facilitating. And so as part of that, you get a lot of people, even if they're not like actively hostile, you get a lot of like randos interacting in fandom spaces, which has the effect of like exacerbating the sort of like, wow, like drive-by cringe, and also drive-by like not understanding that a lot of fandom norms were shaped by neurodivergent people. Like a lot of early fandom culture bears clear marks of like, okay, you created like squeeing, you know? That's just a happy stim.
Oh, gotcha.
You know, like
True.
That's like the clearest example I can come up with, but there's definitely a lot of fandom is very intertwined with neurodivergence and with queerness, and so that kind of perfect storm means that when outsiders sort of drive by the culture, it's like
what's going on in there?
Yeah. It's embarrassing.
Yeah.
It's seen as shameful. Which is fucked up.
And that also has to do a lot with, like, I think emotional vulnerability and the way that you are not supposed to be emotionally vulnerable and not supposed to show emotion outside of certain acceptable forms.
So true.
Yeah.
And also a lot of, like, any opportunity to shit on teenage girls, you know?
Well, yeah.
How dare you like things in public?
There you go. How dare you like things?
How dare you like things in public in a neurodivergent way?
Ooh.
Like, oh boy.
And then publish things about them.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Have the audacity to think that other people might care about you also.
Right.
But that's enough about
misogyny.
My particular grievances with society.
Well, there you go.
Let's get into other people's grievances with society. Do you want to talk about your article?
Yeah, so my article is about how I think the kink community and just kink history should be included in typical pride celebrations. And a lot of the reason I think that is the same way the kink community is ostracized now is the way that trans people and queer people of color and queer people who were just outside of the norms were once ostracized and not included in pride in the 1950s, in the days of, like, the Mattachine Society, when, like, oh, it's gay white men and no one else. I think that maybe kink and polyamorous people are the next big group to finally start to be included in the general pride celebration and the queer community, but I think there's still just a lot of work to be done. And there's a lot of people who don't want kink at Pride still, who are in the queer community, who should be a lot more supportive. And I think a lot of the reason they aren't supportive is because kinky people are not humanized in typical discourse. The kinks themselves are talked about a lot, but not necessarily the people behind it. And I think part of what I aimed to do with my article was give, like, a kind of gentle introduction to people who didn't know a whole lot about it and kind of bring some humanity to the kink community while also gently chastising them for not including us.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. It was really good. It was an interesting article to read.
Yeah,
Thank you. I liked it.
I do feel like another big aspect is, like, growing purity culture.
Yeah.
Especially in the U.S.
Hey, there's an article about that.
Yeah.
Raina's article.
Where kink culture, because it's so associated with sex, even though not all kink is sexual, like, I think the majority of it is.
It's actually not. I want to expand on that a little bit, because I talk about that in my article. That kink, I think, for a lot of people, is part of people's sexuality, but it's not inherently sexual. There are a lot of kink activities, and there are a lot of, just, like, a lot of the interactions that happen in the kink world are non-sexual. Everything that happens in, for the most part, in professional kink, pro-domination, pro-subbing, is not sexual. And a lot of things that happen at just, like, play parties and dungeons are not sexual. I would say 90% of the scenes I do with people are non-sexual and are with people I have not and will not have sex with. That number used to be a bit more skewed. It used to be maybe 50-50. But yeah, I think there's a lot of community and a lot of benefit you can get from the kink world that aren't related to sex. There are also a lot of asexual and people on the ace and aro spectrum in the kink community who still get a lot out of it. But I do think that kink is sometimes kink and BDSM can be inherent in people's sexuality, and that's part of why I argue they should be included in Pride. It's kind of under this umbrella of sexuality that spans beyond attraction to a gender, but instead kink can relate to a sexual parameter. I'm not explaining this well. It's basically attraction to a certain power dynamic instead of attraction to a gender, which is why it can be inherent in people's sexuality. And a lot of people feel that their identity within the kink world is as integral to their person as their gender and sexuality. So it is a lot more than sex for most people. Some people just engage in kinky sex. But for the most part, when I talk about the kink community, that's not what I'm talking about. Because I don't consider those people kinksters. I don't consider them part of the kink community. And that might be gatekeepy. But I think of a mostly vanilla cis straight couple who just, like, occasionally spanks each other in the bedroom is not really a part of the kink community unless they, like, spend a lot of time in kink spaces and truly identify with it.
Yeah, it's kind of like the difference between being, like, having an LGBTQ plus identity and being like queer. I think that's something that like, you know, the aspect of community and the aspect of like, oh well, it's not so as queer has been reclaimed as an identity marker and an umbrella term that can be equated with LGBTQ. It also has like not lost, but like not been used so much as like also like a political identity and like a frame and like a viewpoint.
I don't know. I don't think that's really how I think about. I'm responding to Emma here, not to Ava. I don't really think that's how I think of. I don't think there really is a difference between being queer and being LGBTQ. I think they're like pretty perfect synonyms. I mean, obviously, you can be more or less involved in the queer community, but like, I think even if you're like, I don't know, a closeted bisexual person who has exclusively straight friends and lives in rural Wisconsin or something, like, you can still be part of the queer community just by virtue of, like, an innate characteristic you hold, not because you hang out at your non-existent local gay bar.
Right. Yeah, I think I might be referencing something specific that I read about how it was like my gender and communication class or something about that. I do agree with you though. I think that's true, and I don't mean to take away from.
Yeah, I mean the internet has done wonderful things for connecting more people than ever before, and it's also done terrible things
for connecting
more people than ever before.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
the network effect applies to queer people just as much as to neo-Nazis.
Ooh. Yikes.
Sorry to be a huge downer every time I say something.
No, but like you're right though.
The internet is,
and that's why you need to like push more space. Like, it's not always like plausible, but like the push to be offline is probably one that might benefit a lot of people. Yeah. And bring a lot of nuance to different conversations. And perspective. But
it also, again, it might isolate you from, like, your only possibility of having a queer network. Yeah. So it's, there's pros and there's cons.
Yeah, some sort of combination of the two.
Yeah, I think the internet...
No, nothing, never mind.
I think the internet and its pervasiveness is part of the reason why kink has become so stigmatized, because people just see, like, things so out of context. They'll see, like, porn. And they'll think that's the reality of the kink community, when most of the time it's not.
I will say, I don't think the internet is to blame for that one. I think, like, Playboy existed well before the internet.
But it's so easy to access that sort of thing now. Like, you don't have to purchase it. You don't have to, like, find it physically. There's videos that's passed around. People talk about it.
That's true, and obviously I'm coming at this as, like, a fairly vanilla lesbian. I feel like there is a commonality in, like, being sexualized against your will in these two identities. And I don't think, like, the internet and the overwhelming accessibility of lesbian porn is really the defining thing that made people look at lesbians as wholly, like, sex objects.
Right, it was, like, misogyny.
Yeah, there's, like... yeah.
That's true.
And I think a lot of, like, the stereotypical vision of kink, which is, like, submissive waif, and domineering man, that's the stuff of, like, shitty romance novels.
Also misogyny.
Yeah. Not only is it the stuff of shitty, it's just the stuff of all kinds of shitty pulp, genre fiction, honestly.
And with no conversation before and no experience, they are always doing breath play.
Ooh.
Nobody is... They're always doing something, like...
They're always doing some shit.
Do you want to expand on that?
Don't fucking choke people.
No, don't choke people. Okay. Don't choke people if you don't know what you're doing and you haven't had an explicit conversation about consent and you don't have a verbal and nonverbal safe word before you start going.
If you're the protagonist of a shitty fantasy novel, don't choke people.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah, that's true.
99% of the time, none of those
No, I
things
don't
will
care.
happen. Oh, shit, never mind, sorry.
You're a shitty
Even if you do and you're a fantasy protagonist, fuck you.
If you're a fantasy protagonist in particular, sorry.
Yeah, I can't
I'm
read those
sure
books.
there's more misogynistic genres out there.
Also, they're fucking always doing it wrong. Even when they're not a shitty... You're not supposed to choke someone in the middle of the neck. That's crushing their windpipe.
Absolutely not.
You're supposed to go on either
It's
side.
a blood choke.
And you're really supposed to be, like, fucking careful about it and, like, know what you're doing. And nobody ever does.
Because it's a fantasy.
That's terrifying.
Fantasy, and it's
And, like, they're... Okay. Now say your thing before I get into my whole other spiel.
I was gonna say, it's like, a lot of the time it's just people who want to try something kinky and not people who are, like, educated by the kink community. There's a lot of kinks that are like that, where people will just, like, start doing them and then be like, oh, this is dangerous, kink is dangerous, this bad thing happened. And I'm like, yeah, of course this bad thing happened.
It's like trying to be an unlicensed chiropractor on yourself.
Oh!
Like,
it literally is.
buddy.
Isn't chiropractic, like, kind of bullshit also?
Oh, it's 100% bullshit,
Nice.
and the guy who invented chiropractic said that ghosts taught it to him.
Dude, in fairness, that's pretty fucking funny.
I had a teacher who was a doctor of chiropractic, and I don't know if that's how you say it, and we got detention if we didn't call him doctor. And my dad was like, that's not a real doctor.
That's not a real doctor.
That just sums up some high school educators, doesn't it?
Middle school.
Oh, okay,
Even
better.
worse.
Even better.
Yeah. Okay, what were you on?
Oh, I was gonna say, like, obviously there is room in an imaginative life for, that kind of unrealistic fantasy that would be objectively harmful if carried out in real life. And, I mean, obviously, correct me if I'm wrong, but, like, I think a big part of kink is engaging in that fantasy, like, engaging in this power dynamic that if were carried to its, like, logical 100% conclusion would probably be pretty unhealthy, but because it's in, like, a controlled way, whether that's in real life as part of a scene or what, like, in part of a fantasy novel, it can be, like, expressed in this healthy way. However, that does not mean that many fantasy novels which express fantasy scenarios, although I'm sure they're enjoyed by many women, are not also super misogynistic while they're doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Two things can be true.
They definitely are. They don't portray safe, risk-aware, consensual kink.
Nice catch.
Rack.
You don't want to get into the SSC versus rack thing on the podcast?
Okay. I don't love SSC because SSC stands for safe, sane, consensual. It shouldn't be sane. We're freaks. It's insane.
Okay, real.
It shouldn't be. It's not. I don't like calling it safe. Like, it's not. Kink is inherently not safe. There's always risks. I think sex is not always safe. It's risk-aware sex. Like, there's no. I don't think any of these things are safe. They're
I see.
If
Gotcha.
you do enough. If you do enough, like, mitigation, they're low risk, but that's why it's risk-aware. It's not entirely safe, but you're aware of the risks, and you're taking steps to mitigate the risks. Like, knowing what the fuck you're doing, having safe words, doing it in a dungeon with dungeon monitors, having a really...
Okay, I know what you mean, but it's really funny when you're like, be safe, do it in a dungeon.
Well,
there
dungeons...
have to be little creatures all around.
Okay.
There has to be a cobweb in the corner.
No, dungeons are... Dude, dungeons are not, like, a literal dungeon. It's just...
No, I know.
This could be a dungeon.
It just
We're
sounds
making
like
a joke
it.
because
Yeah.
it's a funny name.
That's true. No, it is. People always laugh. I always have to, like, elaborate when I say DM because people always think that's, like, D&D.
Yeah.
DMs.
I honestly probably would assume that.
I think it's direct message.
Oh, yeah, also that.
Well, in the kink world, it's dungeon monitor, and at the dungeon I go to, they get, like, a spiked sash that says DM.
Fuck yeah, dude.
Which is fantastic. It's amazing, and they have, like, a red flashing, like, thing so that you know where to find them.
So they're just, like, supervisors?
They're, like, supervisors
like,
before you start
if anyone needs help.
Yeah, if anyone needs help, before you start a scene in a private room, you have to, like, check in with them, explain the scene, ensure that you know your safe words, you're not going to do breath play. If you're doing anything with a gag, you need to have a non-verbal safe word, like someone holds something and drops it. They just want to make sure you're not, and if you're doing something risky, they, like, need to make sure that you know what you're doing. Like, if you're like, I'm going to do fire, I'm going to do wax, they're like, have you done that before? Do you know what you're doing? So I'd say that that's the safest. So that's really risk aware because you're aware of the risk and you're taking steps to mitigate it.
And if you aren't aware of the risk, then someone will prevent you.
Right? Yeah, someone will definitely prevent you. It's and it's not always. I don't know. I feel like sane makes it seem like, oh, we need this to be normal. We need you to be doing normal kinky things. When
there's other weird kinky.
The whole point of like kink positivity.
That's the whole thing is about.
Yeah, and then so it's not safe. It shouldn't be sane, but it always should be consensual, and that's like.
There you go.
That's like the bottom line.
Yeah.
But yeah.
The sea carries over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The sea carries over, and nothing else does.
Okay, really quick, I gotta say.
Oh, God.
I think it's really funny how BDSM as an acronym uses the pairs of letters to do double duty. I think that's, like, incredible.
Well, because it
Great
way
acronym
too
design. Yeah, but, like, they're, like, thinking about it in their head, like, aha, I found the greatest compact acronym that we've ever seen.
I actually don't know who came up with that.
Neither do I. But, I'm just here to look pretty.
Yeah, I don't ever know enough history for whatever I'm talking about. That's your job.
Well, it's not like I can be like, and kink was invented in the year
you could
2000
kink
BC.
was not invented. I'm pretty sure that in the fucking caveman days,
yeah,
there was some guy who was just like, "Oh, look what I can do."
Real. You want to talk about monster fucking?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, sure, I can talk about monster fucking. I mean, from a theoretical perspective, I feel like it does play into that same, like, fantasy aspect of kink that I was talking about. Because A, you're not going to fuck a monster in real life. Okay, actually, I have a new theoretical framework that I'm going to describe this for you, which I'm pulling directly from a Tumblr post that I no longer remember who wrote. But they're like horse fantasies, and then they're like unicorn fantasies. And like a horse fantasy is like realistic. Like if you want a horse, then someone comes in, and they're like, you have to like clean the horse, and like have somewhere to store it, and pay for its lodging, and so on. Like that's part of a horse fantasy, like the realism. Whereas a unicorn fantasy, if you're like, I really want a unicorn, and someone comes in and they're like, you have to pay for somewhere to lodge your unicorn, right?
Okay,
it's like,
right.
You have missed the point so completely.
Oh, wait, I saw a post about, on Tumblr about how tentacles wouldn't actually feel good in real life. Is it that one?
No,
okay,
no, this was about, I want a mafia boss to, like, be a huge dick to other people, but like really nice and possessive about me. Like, no one actually wants a mafia boss to like.
So that would be a
sweep
horse
them
fantasy,
off their
right?
feet. No, so that would be a unicorn fantasy.
Oh shit!
I'm getting this.
Okay.
Sometimes you can see a unicorn fantasy, and because it has things that theoretically could happen in real life, you'd be like, oh, a horse fantasy. But no, like the thing where the mafia boss comes in and sweeps you off your feet is very clearly like a fantasy about being taken care of and not having to be afraid and having someone to, like, make people who would want to hurt you be afraid and so on. Like, this is clearly a vehicle to address these, like, deeper wants rather than, like, I actually want to deal with the logistics of co-running a mafia operation.
Maybe I do.
I mean, sure, maybe you do, but that's not the mafia boss fantasy I have described.
There actually is a way to make that a reality with erotic hypnosis. Oh. You could truly believe it's happening.
Sure.
Oh, true.
Anyway, aside from the point, monster fucking it's a unicorn type fantasy. And so, in that way, it's like a very safe kind of fantasy and a way to explore, like, desires that are unpleasant and unacceptable on the face of them. And this, like, very safe way. Like, it's a way to eroticize danger without actually being in any danger. Also, fucking sexy.
Yeah, literally.
Hey ladies.
Hey ladies? Which ladies? The monster ladies?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, true.
We do a presentation night in a club I'm in. And my friend, for his presentation, he smashed or passed the monster manual from D&D.
Oh, true.
Which was incredible.
I love that.
Which one's got on the smash list?
Too many to list. I mean, come on, who do you think we are?
Fair enough.
But shout out to the Clockwork Dragon, my number one on my monster fucking list right now.
My phone.
It's like, what if a dragon was a steampunk robot? Like, hello?
Oh, that would be your type.
Hello?
We need to adopt more dragons, then.
Yeah.
Technically, that one is from
What's
a
it called?
non-canonical, The Clockwork Dragon. It's got, technically, The Clockwork Dragon is from a non-canonical supplement, which has, kobold in the name.
Oh, wow.
Incredible stuff, though.
I don't understand which parts of D&D are canon. I think we
this
should be
one
allowed
super
to make
isn't.
it all
It's also a 3rd edition supplement. That's not it.
Oh, what?
I'll get it
That's
for
not
you.
It?
No, that's not it.
Which one is it?
This one.
Oh, rad.
Oh, nice.
Fuck yeah.
Bim's brother.
Fair
Who?
enough.
Oh, we have a dragon that we adopted in our
Oh, yeah, I
campaign.
remember that.
Yeah.
You should make it a Clockwork Dragon.
Really?
You can make it, a canonical type
Someone's
of dragon
an
if you want to stat block, but,
If you want to what?
if you want to stat block for it.
Oh, right.
But, I'm just saying.
But,
for me.
for you?
Will you join D&D?
Yeah. So join D&D next quarter.
I already am playing D&D.
Okay, it doesn't conflict with your D&D, so...
Okay, look, we'll see.
Oh, okay.
Uh,
I love roping people into things.
Yeah, you have to. It's on the air now. You have to.
Oh, yeah, true, it's on the air! No, you just didn't. You just signed a verbal contract. We're holding you to
I
that.
didn't.
No, yeah, you did.
Is it on the air if we're not live, or is it on the...
yeah, also it's only on the air if you're live. This isn't on the air until I publish it.
Okay.
On Saturday.
The on air.
Incredible work, everybody. Also, I got really offended because, I play a homebrew class called a rat folk, which is sort of part rat. It's
I'm familiar with that.
like a rat girl, except my character is non-binary.
Real.
It also has a rat face. And my DM said he would not smash rat folk, and I'm still so mad about it. What the fuck, dude?
What the fuck, dude?
I don't know if I'd smash rat.
This is on topic. D&D is probably also within the category of freaks, honestly.
Not so much anymore.
Not as much anymore.
Historically, though, yeah, Satanic Panic.
Yeah.
I feel like now the current equivalent of what D&D was in the past is LARPing.
True. Honestly, sounds kind of rad. I want to run around with a sword. Fuck.
I definitely... On a boat.
On a boat.
On a boat.
Hey!
As lesbians.
No way! No reality TV show!
LARPing as lesbian pirates on a boat.
Okay, now don't stop talking because then they can't cut it out. We need to go to a new topic immediately.
Okay. So
actually, when I
kink.
started playing D&D, I actually had to work through a lot of feelings of the cringe of it, because I was like, ooh, I'm expressing emotions. Ooh, I'm pretending to do something. That's shameful.
Wait.
And it took me a minute to get through that.
That's crazy, because I feel oh my god, okay, how vulnerable can I be on the podcast?
That was more vulnerable than I've been to most people in my life, so...
No,
sorry, that's not true.
I feel
like
D&D role-playing came very naturally to me, because when I was in middle school, I would role-play over text message with my friends.
Oh, me too.
That we were all in, this Minecraft YouTube adjacent series. We made our little OCs that we roleplayed as, and then I also roleplayed, 3 different characters there.
Fuck yeah.
A, what the fuck was I doing? B, D&D, way more fun than that, if I'm honest.
Yeah, no, definitely. I did that, but I just, wrote it down. I did that freshman year of college, because, Steph made up these little, alternate universe versions of me and her,
oh my
and
God.
then I, wrote a story about it. It's not done yet. It's, I think it remains the longest story that I've written so far, and it's not even done yet.
It's so real.
So real.
That.
How long is it,
if
I might ask?
I don't know. It's not that long, probably.
Yeah, okay, fair.
I can't remember.
I definitely
look it up on my
roleplayed
phone, actually.
a lot since I was 12. I've probably... Yeah. One of my college entrance essays was about what the different characters I've roleplayed have taught me.
Wow, okay, that's really cool.
Yeah, that's fun. I didn't know. You said that it was about role-playing, but you didn't mention that it was...
yeah.
It was going through the different characters that I've created and the things that I've learned about myself as a person and how I've learned to be more emotionally complex and a better communicator as a result of the faults and the successes of these different characters.
That's cute as hell.
Yeah, I love that.
It was a vibe. Someone edited it and they were like, oh, I've never read one about this before, because they read a lot of college essays, and I was like, oh, cool.
You're just built different. Dude, I wrote one of my UC
27
essays.
pages on a Google Doc or something.
Oh,
that's long.
Some of it's repetitive, so it might be more 20. Anyways.
Oh, I wrote one of my UC essays about how William Jennings Bryan inspired me. So he was a leader of the Populist Party in the 1890s, which is why it's really astonishing I didn't contribute to the Freaks print.
Yeah.
Yeah. How you didn't want to write?
I'm not actually I'd never attended writers training, so I'm not sure if we would get reprimanded for it. And B, I mean, we have a whole bunch of writers.
Mr. Sprague never attended either.
No, yeah, I wrote real! I wrote so many print articles and I had not attended writer training until...
Damn.
Actually, no, I'm not gonna say that.
Pretty funny.
You can cut it out later. Fuck you, Jose, if you're listening to this.
Fuck Jose!
We're not going to clarify which Jose.
Oh, okay, perfect. Yeah.
Ava has also
but probably not
attended
you.
writing training.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like sometimes I'm iffy, but I feel like we got some good thematic cohesion with this print.
Yeah, we did.
Really,
it was really cool. I loved the central themes of it. Because, we had, with, Steph's, behind the cover piece, and then also, in observation, I think it very much connects, you could say, standard queer community, the LGBT of
the
LGBTQ+.
Love Simon of...
Yes. And drew those comparisons to the other things, like Void Punk or furries or something, and just, and also Transmutation of Man, too. I think, sort of drew that connection, and I think it was really cool how we, put all these pieces in conversation with each other. I don't know, up until very recently, I did not think about how, the way that you structure things and the way that if you present two things at the same time, believe it or not, you can, draw comparisons between them. And I think it was really cool with this print, the way that happened.
Real?
Yeah. And they were also, dope as fuck pieces. They were saying a lot.
Yeah.
Through a bunch of different mediums.
Dude, I was not expecting to like Jericho's Furries piece, and then it, fucking ruled.
It ruled!
I was like, oh, it's just gonna be, a basic, community introduction.
Nah.
But no, it was, actually insightful.
There's, studies and stuff, scientific studies and stuff. I thought that was the most interesting part.
Dude,
I was
they
like,
brought
oh,
the
shit,
research.
Yeah. They brought the fucking research.
I love it. This is definitely my favorite print.
Yeah. I really liked... Okay, I recently read Reflections of Radiance, and it, made me tear up a little bit, so maybe one's also... I love the cover. I think it's gorgeous. Also for this one. Yeah, I don't know. I just love when they put images in other images, because that's what both of those covers have in common.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah. No, the cover fucks. Fucks nasty.
I like that there are 4 eyes.
Yeah, exactly. I was just looking at how I like the way that they cut out this part, so it's also their eyes.
Well, it's okay, I'm gonna get, lit criticky, but I really like how it almost feels like there's, a normal image, and then it's splitting apart into, a fucked up, creepy image.
Yeah.
And they're, both looking at you, how you have a duality that's constantly observing you. You know that Margaret Atwood quote that's, even when I'm alone, there's a man looking at me?
Yeah.
That one? Even by my private spaces? And, that Sylvia Plath quote about how she wants to be a fly on the wall so that she can observe, male homosociality without the infringing presence of a woman, because she's, ostracized from that whole aspect of society just by virtue of her gender. Fuck, dude, I have a lot of feelings.
Fuck, dude! That's my whole thing with masculinity and having male friends. What the fuck? Yeah.
Anyway, you should read the print.
You should read the print. It's so cool.
It's so good.
And you should rip out all the stuff and hang it on your wall, because there's some fucking cool art and photo shoots.
Also because doing that is punk as fuck.
Yeah. I did that with the color print, because I really liked that,
Dude, that cover.
Okay, yeah, the cover. I did it with the collage that, Elliot did, because I thought it fucked, and I thought that the poem fucked, too. So good. Yeah.
And with that, I've been JQ.
I've been Emma.
I've been Ava.
You can follow OutWrite on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, the website formerly known as Twitter. You can read our articles at OutWriteNewsmag.org. That's right, spelled W-R-I-T-E. Thank you, and keep being a freak.
Yeah!